Well, welcome back. Now, in this video, I want to talk about something that everybody's probably using in some cases, your ISP, right? So you can tell that these days ISPs have the same, tools you're using to, especially clay, for example, you're enriching and trying to find signals, or you're using the same sequences, same cold outreach, and you're pretty much having the same sort of engagement messaging, no different. You know the common one where, hey, these companies just completed Series A or hiring, and you're using the same message. Hey, notice that you completed Series A or B. Our solution does A, B, C to help you, right? It's the same play. It's pretty much the same play. And so what happens is your message essentially disappears because everybody's saying the same thing. They're personalizing it in the same way. And so what Alpha, GTM Alpha in this article here is all about is how you can create unique plays, something that others or your competitors or even the market cannot see. So in this video, what we're going to do is just focus on what we can do with using an alpha, sort of GTM Alpha approach in your go-to-market. And this is important from a solo founder, right? Is what is your unique data? What is this? When you have unique data, you can actually start looking at unique plays, and then you can actually hopefully increase that meeting bookings or whatever goal that you have set. Interestingly, and this whole article is all about that. You could find your competitive edge, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit this as well. But it actually came from Alpha, is a sort of the competitor. It came out from investing and finance. Is how could you generate a return that generates above a benchmark? And that's what we're trying to do, is generate a return, as in your campaign return on investment, above the normal B2B benchmark. And in essence, a GTM play in this capacity is what is your uniqueness, your data set that you might have, or your approach that you might have, and so you have your uniqueness as a factor, the timing when you outreach, and using AI to enable that, so you can combine it at scale. So AI gives you the productivity gains that you get, but essentially it's two things: your uniqueness, the data that you might have, and the timing. So what this is, and I'm going to give you an example of Canva, but what you need to ask, these are the questions you need to ask, it's so important, is who can, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to sort of really narrow down, but because these three questions are really, really important. Who can see more clearly than anyone else? Who can we see, like I said, a team that nobody else can see? What data that we have. This is especially for SaaS, when you have a lot of app-driven data, information within your application that you can extract out. What can we see about them that others can't? Like if you're a Canva, and I'll give you some examples, or Heidi here, which we'll talk about, and this is like a AI assistant for clinical answers and so forth, or Halter here, where it uses app information for cows, right? To guide them in terms of locations. So basically, there's no fences. It uses vibrations and sounds to guide the cows around. It's pretty remarkable. It's a New Zealand company, but we'll talk. So Canva would have a lot of information about users. Heidi here has a lot of information about their GPs and end users, right? That they can increase their footprint on sale. And similar to Halter here, Halter, yeah, they also have a lot of information both from a user and cow information, and we will talk about that, right? So and the last one is what unique plays that we can come up with that leverages that unique data at the right time, and using AI, your Clays and your GTPs and your Claudes to do an outreach. So that's the loop. That's essentially what we're trying to do here. Is that is you're finding GTM. This is finding the plays that are unique plays. So pick a sharp ISP, define those signals, define those. When I say signals, the unique signals. and then define a plan or play like a play that targets those unique signals and those unique ISP. And you don't have to do it. You just use 20 or 30, just pilot as well. So let's just use Canva an example. And I'll bring this back to a visual, which summarizes it later. But I was wondering, let's just look at Canva, for example, right? And I just made mocked up some data around this. And I'm going to just dive into a little bit this. So this is typically when you sign up for Canva, you have sort of your work email address. So I'm going to start from the beginning. So this gives you a sense. And what I've done here is just highlight what things are enriched, what things are in-app, so data that I can extract, and what I use for clay agents, for example, to enrich that. And that's the AI component, what I'm talking about, right? What else I can do? So in Canva, again, this is all fake data, so mock-up, you can see here, mocked up data, but gives you a flavor. You can use, in terms of think about your own app. So typically they sign up with the work email, right? Then you can actually enrich that from that work email. You can enrich their domain, you can enrich their company, what industry they are, where they're based, how many employees, which is going to be important because when I start looking at how much I can enrich or penetrate that company, I need to know how much how much total population, the TAM of that particular company. And then I go into the app itself. So if they have only 1 active, 2, 3 active users, that gives me a sort of these are the data that I can generate from within the app itself. So Canva would know there are 3 active users, the average news time. Do they use a brand kit, which is part of their. If you go back to the brand management, these are sort of the tools that have. They're using some of that. So basically, if I was Canva, I was trying to say how can I enrich or integrate more of my application, my tools within that organization. So in this case, brand kit, are they using it? When the last time they used it? And then I can do, using Clay Agent, I can actually create a simple score that takes these elements, right? Takes these and then so these are the Clay agents. So I just use a score to really, this is all about how I can prioritize the companies in my existing database, right? So I can prioritize by maturity. So this way I'm just targeting how much are they using of the brand kit, because I want to target with the brand kit. So you can see here, for example, they're not using it, so they've got a low score. Okay. Also, within the agent, I can start detecting if they're using collaboration tools within there. They're sharing in Canva. They're sharing their designs or not, right? So I'm trying to gather as much as possible and using the AI component of, in this case, Clay Agent to help me with that. Then it gives me the alpha score. This is what we're talking about. This is like this. I can actually start prioritizing. Companies, and then I'll go to the next play with my fit. Okay, and again, so now I can start saying, okay, well, this is a low alpha score, this one is a high alpha score. So because I can actually start creating unique plays, consolation plays, right? So they can say, hey, high volume multi-store approach, where I can actually say this score allows me to filter or prioritize which companies in my whole database that I should focus on. And I can get the agent to also give me a play. So, in this case here, it's a low score because they're not using much of the tools, and so low adoption signals. Okay, and you can see here, I can actually calculate, again, using Clay, the total employees. If I go here, my total employees, and what percentage have penetration at the moment. So it's pretty low as well. So this gives me a quick overview of a priority list that I can use. This is nothing to do with, at the moment, actual plays itself. Even though there's a high-level play, it's more about, of my database, where should I focus on? Because what I want to do is create that unique factor, right? Is use some of their data in my play. And here you can see that I extracted out, I got the original list, then I enriched it again at an individual level. So this is a company signal, so it gives me a priority list, and this is my individual level. So if I go back here, and I scroll up here, so there's a lot here. These are all mocked up, by the way. But if somebody comes in, let's go into Pinnacle. Where was Pinnacle? Pinnacle. Okay. So this is all Pinnacle. Again, this is just fake news, but I just want to highlight. So in Pinnacle, assuming one user, and I'm going to highlight this a little bit. It came in. This group here, one user came in, and it's for marketing. I can start enriching the contact details. Okay. So these will enrich. I can enrich their department. Again, I already have the information about where they are, but I can now enrich their title and then infer their marketing department, infer also the agent to infer their sort of seniority in the company. Why that's important? Because I can start making plays. I can say, okay, I have I'm just using contributors at the moment, but I want to target the with a tailored message to the manager within the department. So this is all the department, and you can see here. This is another department. Here, comms department. Here's a service. This is the student service department. I can create custom messages to that the individual department within that company as well. Again, I'm using a combination of enrichment and app data, and the agent itself, the Clay agent, helps me craft messages, crafts me insights. So now, in terms of, if I looked at this now, Pinnacle Education, these are summarized. I summarized it in terms of departments, which I highlighted you because this is individuals, but now I'm going to just group them. Okay, so I'm getting narrowed down to a play here. Okay, so you can see for the marketing department, there's a high penetration. So this is the messaging I might use. This is the angle, the outreach is student recruitment materials, enterprise, basically saying how you can leverage Canva to increase your output around student materials or recruitment materials. Let's just see here, this one here, HR. Okay, HR's not using it much, so that'll be a unique play where I can say, hey HR, some of your team members are already using Clay. We can actually increase, or you can use. Sorry, I'm using Clay. I keep on saying Clay. A Canva. You can actually now HR person is. Some of your employees, your staff are using, your marketing department already using Canva. You can use Canva as well for your onboarding of new staff. And this is some examples of what you can do. You can do a booklet that is branded and templated and so forth. So the outreach messages is becoming much more powerful and much more personalized in this case, to the department. Hopefully now you're starting to see how you can use Alpha to be not like your regular ISP high-level signals, but going to the next level and combining app data as well. So what about the other companies? So this just gives you a flavor of combination. You can see here what you look at, things you can reach, and you look at things where you can use AI agent to give you that analysis, but you're using data from your own app to do that. Again, there's a combination enrichment, and then you can just do some basic calculations to say penetration rate, average users, and so forth, right? But the point here is that if in this department, within this company, okay, I'm going to even bold this now a little bit, just change this a little bit. Within this company, right, within these departments, you can now have number of people using it, the potential of that period, what penetration you have, and then you can have individual plays around that makes sense to that particular department. That's your alpha. That's how you're going to be unique. This is similar to in terms of Heidi here, right? They have a unique set of data. They have a unique set of information from the apps that they can use. So just for context, this is a Melbourne-based company, 100 million in valuation. They've got over 2 million clinical consultants, and they're using weekly across 116 countries. So their alpha is they see what clinics, specialists, and sort of health systems have from an organic updation, right? So it's just similar to the Canva bottom-up motion, right? Their play could be that something like 73 of your GPs already use Heidi here. Here's what the admin they've saved from using this, and the accuracy of those. Here's what they've saved in terms of time, and what enterprise rollout will look like in your organization. So targeting that, right? Similar to Halter here, okay? And this is a New Zealand company, amazing. Again, series, they're doing a Series C, all right? So their alpha is real-time data collected from the collars of the cows. And so their play would be that your neighbor, your next door neighbor has been using our system, and 15% of more cattle are being used in less land because it's grazing, right? So they're actually optimizing their land because cattle eat food and so forth. So they can actually use cattle data and usage data from their app, saying, hey, next door neighbor farmer, your next door neighbor is actually using our solution, and this is the benefit of having 50% of more cattle on the same land using rotation glazing, rotational glazing of their cows, right? So they're moving cows across, and this is the benefit. So the better soil, better protection of the land, better, you don't have any fences. So there's multiple benefits, but you can explain use cases for the neighbor, so to increase their adoption of that solution. But again, the problem here, let's just close this off, right? The problem here is that with Alpha, the Clay's Alpha GTM philosophy is pick a sharp ISP. Start with you saw those three examples from Canva, Halter, and Heidi, right? Heidi. Find those, pick an audience from your extracted list. Find their unique signals, their users. It could be, in your CRM, their unique factors. If you're a B2B service, that's a unique factor. Try to find unique signals and enrich it with whatever information that you might think is missing, and then use Clay agents to craft insights, right? Then you can design your plays, because when you have your insights, sort of your outreach messages, your play will be super unique and actually appreciated, right? Because they will say, hey, you give me some insights of my own company that I don't even know. So this is all about creating unique campaigns, develop unique high relevant experiences that focus on their problem that they're facing using the data that you have, and then just ship it and learn from it. So that's like your minimal viable alpha GTM Alpha approach, right? So you don't have to go over, just use 50 target accounts, and gather the insights, see what happens, and I'm sure that you'll see this is quite unique. Because again, if I go back to the whole premise of this, it's all about having a unique edge. When you have a unique data edge, then you have unique plays, and then unique plays result in unique deltas in terms of difference, in terms of you obtaining whatever goal that you have with your GTM. So again, I'll leave this in the show notes, this article. And also I'll just leave this as well if you or just send me a message if you want a copy of this. But the whole idea here, hopefully is all about how you can use a GTM Alpha philosophy to be different when you're running your GTM campaigns. All right, that was a lot there. So save this video, subscribe, like, comment, all that sort of stuff, and I hope you found that useful. Bye now.